Well, message to all of you terrorists over there killing Christians over religion. Turns out that maybe we're not all that religious. A new study finds that Muslims could outnumber Christians by the year 2100. By 2050, they'll have parity. And in the U.S., the number of people leaving religion altogether is on the rise.
Fox News Lord now, manhunt underway right as we speak for this man, the mastermind of the horrific attack on the University of Kenya from yesterday. The death toll stands at a staggering 147 after al-Shabaab gunmen went dorm to dorm executing Christians for not being Muslims. Yup, this is just months after the terror group called for attacks on America and malls. So how big is the threat here? Joining us right now is Dr. Sebastian Gorka, the Major General, Matthew Horner Distinguished Chair of Military Theory at Marine Corps University. So, Doctor, people are concerned what happened there could happen here. Should they be?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've had a concrete video from this exact terrorist group just a few months ago that was calling for these kinds of attacks in the UK, in Canada, and specifically here in America, even naming the malls, the Mall of America, Westfield malls, and saying that they want to come after us. We have a large Somali diaspora in the United States, so theoretically they don't even have to insert terrorists from the outside as during 9/11. They can just target those communities, try and identify susceptible young men or women and radicalize them. And as is obvious, a shopping mall is a gargantuan collection of soft targets. We don't have the kind of security here in America that we do in Israel, for example. You go to a shopping mall in Israel, everybody has to go through a metal detector. We don't have that. So, yes, this is a threat that has to be taken very seriously.
This morning, ladies of terror, two women inspired by ISIS and obsessed with Osama bin Laden, busted plotting attacks right here in the United States. Their targets, police funerals and military bases. Their goal, another Boston Marathon.
Brutal terror attack overseas underscores the growing threat to followers of this faith around the world. Al-Qaeda-linked gunmen stormed a college campus in Kenya less than 24 hours before the start of Good Friday, targeting Christians specifically while sparing their fellow Muslims. Witnesses reported hearing the gunmen interrogating the victims about their faith and shooting anyone who did not answer what was perceived to be the right way. The death toll tonight, more than 140. One student saying, quote, "With each blast of the gun, I thought I was going to die," while another reported seeing many bodies, some of which had been beheaded, wondering why anyone would do such a thing. Dr. Robert Jeffress is senior pastor of the First Baptist Church in Dallas. He's also a Fox News contributor. Great to see you tonight, Doctor. And so the reason why they do this is known to most people, which is their belief in radical Islam and that there can be no other faith. And if you are a member of one, you're an apostate.
That's exactly right, Megan. And what is even more tragic about today's event is this is just the latest in a long line of faith-based acts of terror by radical Islamists. You had the beheading of the 21 Coptic Christians, the kidnapping of 90 Syrian Christians, the burning of churches in Iraq, the desire of Iran to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And what all of these things have in common, Megan, is they are based on the religious beliefs of radical Islam. And that's why you are never going to reform radical Islam. The only way to defeat it is to eradicate it. And, you know, you mentioned the holy days we're getting ready to enter into. A lot of Christians have mixed responses to how we ought to deal with this crisis. Some Christians say, well, we ought to pray for these terrorists, or we ought to share the gospel with these terrorists. And while that's certainly an appropriate individual response of Christians, government has a different responsibility. The New Testament says government is an avenger to bring wrath upon those who practice evil.
The war on Christianity getting even worse. That's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Kenya, Africa. 5 radical Muslim killers murdered at least 70 people at a college in that country. At least another 75 were wounded. Gunmen burst into a Christian prayer service, proceeded to shoot down the innocent worshippers. That comes after a mid-March suicide bombing in Pakistan, killing 14 Christians, wounding 70 others. A few weeks before that, Libya, ISIS killers beheading 21 Egyptian Christians. So you can see Christians are being slaughtered all over the place. Here in the USA, verbal attacks against Christians are the headline. As we reported yesterday, some far-left people, aided by a sympathetic media, are now smearing Americans who oppose things like abortion and gay marriage. No question, it is open season on Christians.
There are no great religions. They're all stupid and dangerous. And we should insult them.
All religions, I think, sell you a problem and then sell you the solution. They remind me of the Three Stooges episode where they're exterminators, but first they go to the house and plant roaches and rats.
Mr. Maher, a well-known religion hater who is much lionized by the media, given a free pass to bash people of faith. His anti-religion movie got some negative reviews, as did his attacks on Islam, but his vicious behavior toward Christianity largely ignored in the press. Now, a recent poll from the Associated Press is instructive. Here's the question. In states where same-sex couples can be married legally, do you think that wedding-related businesses with religious objections should be allowed to refuse service to same-sex couples or not? 57% say yes, they should be allowed to refuse marital service. 39% say no, 4% don't know. A Public Religion Research Institute poll asks, in America today, do you believe that the right of religious liberty is being threatened or not? Yes, it's being threatened, 54%. No, 41%. Don't know, 5%. So most Americans get it, even though the secular progressives have succeeded in putting people of faith on the defensive. Perhaps the best example of this is the pizza shop in Walkerton, Indiana. The media went to the store. The owner said they wouldn't feel comfortable catering a gay wedding. A theoretical question, as pizza not usually on the menu at wedding receptions. Well, all hell descended on the store as secular zealots threatened all kinds of things.
I actually think what it shows is that when you have a lynch mob underway and you have a number of people doing things that are purely symbolic, that it's very hard to stand up to lynch mobs.
Once again, the reason all this is happening is the lack of pushback by American religious leaders. It is very rare to see any high-ranking Catholic cleric defending the faithful publicly. Protestants are a little bit better, but organized efforts to defend the Christian faith are rare. Therefore, the anti-religion people have a free fire zone to attack at will.